Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the AFTERBUZZ TV Reign After Show. It's Hang Swords, Episode 7. We've got a lot to talk about, so stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to AFTERBUZZ TV. It's not a packed house as it was last week, but hey, it was a little bit of a calmer episode, so we're going to have a little bit of a calmer after show, but that doesn't mean we're not going to give you the goods, right,
Well, you guys got the two OGs here.
That's right.
We're the OGs of the Reign After Show, so it's kind of nice to... No offense to our other hosts who have come through all the doors and been awesome hosts, but it's kind of fun, just me and you again.
It is. Keetin Marchi, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh yes, I'm Keetin Marchi, everybody. It's so good to be back and still kind of reliving and kind of recouping from the excitement of last week. So thank you guys all for your support last week.
If for some reason you're joining us for the very first time, last week we had a plethora of special guests, and I want to get you, before we fully dive into this episode, I just really quickly, for my own selfish reasons, your perspective, and I think people will kind of find it cool. What was just the experience like, meeting them before, them sitting, doing the show?
It was a little bit of a pinch me moment. And they were just so gracious, and they were so just fun to hang out with. I could have sat and talked to Megan and Drew. We could have just sat and talked, before we were even coming in. They kind of were like, okay, guys, go in the studio, because we were just chatting about different, things in life and not even Reign. And so that was just, it was really fun to just kind of meet them as humans and to just sit next to Queen Catherine, this woman who I've watched and really admire, and an actress who I really admire, was just really, really nice. And they were just humble and kind.
What was the biggest takeaway, whether for Catherine in terms of a character, or for you, since, among many things, you're an actress, and so, maybe an acting thing that you took away from her?
I loved that she came in as she's probably my favorite character in Reign, and then the fact that she directed this episode. So it was really cool to kind of see how she dissects a script with an actor's perspective, and just to see how she puts so much thought into every single character and not just her own. And obviously she was directing the episode, but you can see, I think a great actor is an actor who helps all the actors in the room, and she has so much experience under her belt, and she's working with so many young actors, and you can just tell why all of those young actors really rise to the occasion when they're in a scene with her, because she is so gracious and so humble. And I think that's something that I learned of, anytime, no matter who you're working with, always be gracious and humble, because if you make your partner or your teammate look good, you're gonna look good, and everybody's gonna come out on top. And you could really feel that, and I feel like everybody, even Drew, who is a younger writer when I know he first started on Reign, you could feel that is kind of the camaraderie of the entire crew of Reign. And so it's really great when you get to see something like that, when a show that you love so much they're just good people, and I like when good people succeed, so it feels good, and I'm bummed the show is canceled.
Well, that is a bummer, but I think we're still getting a really great season, as you and I talked about off air. And just to kind of wrap this whole thing up, the good news is, because of that whole experience, not only was it, definitely check it out if you haven't done so, but we're also working towards something very special. We'll kind of intersperse guests throughout, and I think we might do something at the end as well.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed for that, and part of that is you just keep tweeting.
Yeah,
you keep tweeting,
guys,
demanding. Yeah,
demand for you guys, and the support from all of you has been so amazing, and they even said, how much they love this after show. They listen to this after show, they watch this after show, so thank you guys for supporting us, and the crew and cast, as well as you fans, because we couldn't do it without you, because we're fans ourselves, so thank you all.
Absolutely. So let's dive into. Well, we'll save the tears.
Yeah,
for the end.
no tears. Oh, there were some tears during this episode, though. I did cry during this episode, which I haven't cried during a Reign episode in a while.
It was. Let's start with France.
Yes.
Because in terms of kind of mini plots and things developing all at the same time, this had the most action beats. And I just want to start with Nicole. because
oh my gosh, the little minx.
She's just coming in.
She is just I had a feeling. I mean, I was like, oh, that's really sweet. Like this young little, French girl. And it was so cool and nice to see Charles happy. And I don't think we've ever really seen his character in a good place. Like this is the only episode ever since this character has been introduced that we see Charles in a really, really good place. And I loved that even Queen Catherine acknowledged it. She's just like, ugh, this sucks that I have to take my son who's finally happy. Like we were able to give him everything, but the one thing we can't give him is a happy home life. So, it was fun to see that, but obviously it's not going to last.
She is the evil version of Leif.
Nicole?
Yeah, like, because Leif, how he rose in ranks, but it was all good.
Yeah, but she's even
gunning for it.
Gosh, she is so bad. Like
she is.
Oh my gosh. But I think nobody is smarter than Narcisse and Catherine. And Narcisse and Catherine now have this little girl. She's a young woman, I would say, but who's very new to court, quite naive, but yet smart and cunning. And I think they're absolutely going to use her to their advantage. And I think Nicole in the end will obviously fail, but I think she's going to be very helpful moving forward. Maybe if it's probably going to be mostly manipulation, but she is going to really help them kind of save France at this point, even though by Lisa leaving, we have a dramatic thing happening now. Do we want to jump right on that, or I don't know?
Well, let's talk about Charles, because that'll sort of lead into it in the sense that he's now Protestant. He's not really given an explanation other than that it just makes him feel better by being a Protestant, and it's just one of those things. He's happy to be back. I don't know how to gauge his sort of, because at the same time he hasn't really been tested.
Yeah.
And so he can go, not in terms of like his religion, but in terms of his mood swing, he can go like that again.
He's a teenage boy. And not only teenage boys, but teenage girls, mood swings just comes with the territory, unfortunately. But he's discovering himself, and I think he kind of latched on to the Protestant religion so quickly because all of a sudden he was welcomed in by this family who didn't really ask him any questions, still like respected his wishes, and just asked him to help them when it came to normal stuff around the house, and like almost like probably made him feel like a human for the first time ever, like just treating him like a normal human being, even though they knew he was the king. And so obviously seeing these Protestants who he had grown up in a Catholic household, and kind of the Protestants have always been somewhat of the enemy in a way, but then all of a sudden they're the ones embracing him and making him feel better. I feel like in any teenager's life, as soon as something makes you feel safe, like you're like, oh, I'm gonna jump to that immediately. You don't think about the consequences that could happen. And you think, I know I did it when I was a teenager. Like the moment something makes you feel safe and you want to do it. But I think this is, I don't know, I need to look up the actual history of what happened, but I feel like Catherine might sacrifice Charles now to like save France as a Catholic country. Because we know Charles in history passes away. Mm-hmm. He does not reign for a very long time. So I'm wondering how they're going to write that into it. And Henry, is that who the next in line is named?
Henry, the younger brother, who is devoutly Catholic.
Yeah, until he's a teenager.
It's just, to me, it's just an interesting cycle where, obviously Catherine is the cause of Lisa and why she's this way. And then in order to write that, she's now going to mess up one of her other kids. And then eventually, I mean, if you're not necessarily sticking to the real history, then perhaps we'll try to fix that somehow. And then Henry's going to get messed up. And then we'll try to fix that.
Well, and screw you, Lisa. Like, get over. I'm sorry. Like, you are the frickin' queen of Spain. You've made well for yourself. Like, why do you got to come in and mess everything up in France? Like, revenge never ends well for the person seeking the revenge. And you're seeking revenge on Catherine. Don't mess with the queen. It's going to come back, and I think it's going to bite Lisa in the butt.
Maybe, but at the same time, she learned from the best.
She did.
Like they are tit for tat, one and the same.
And I think it's the first time Catherine has really met her match since Mary left. Because I honestly think Mary was Catherine's match in a way.
But opposing views.
Yes, very opposing views. But Lisa is like, you know, apple doesn't fall far from the tree with that girl. So I was bummed we didn't see Claude this episode after we had such a dramatic end. And I wish we could have seen her involved somewhat in the departure of Lisa, since they were kind of butting heads so much.
I think she's just in mourning at the moment.
Oh, poor Claude.
Till next year, question mark, as they said. We'll meet in the future. That's quite romantic, but from my experience, doesn't quite happen.
Oh, Claude.
So, okay, I mean, I guess this is more prediction territory, but at the same time, why don't we just kind of discuss it? What is Catherine going to do? Is there a time limit from Lisa on this to make this happen? What are all these terms?
I don't think Catherine knows exactly what she's going to do at this point. I think she's going to stall for as long as she can so she can feel out and kind of get back into Charles's head a little bit more now. Or now that she has the information about Nicole, get into Nicole's head, pull Nicole closer to her, make Nicole feel safe, and like we can work together. Like I feel like Catherine is really going to butter Nicole up and kind of play friends to get what she needs out of Nicole. And I look forward to Nicole, because I'm sorry, Nicole, you can't just come in and be like this sassy little demanding biatch, because honestly, you have not, we love Narcisse and we love Catherine and we love to hate them. So you need to back off. Like, I hope they win.
I love Narcisse. It was like an eyebrow raise of like, excuse me?
Yeah, excuse me, honey? Like, sit down.
You're like, okay, let's, all right.
That was a great scene. That was one of my favorites. And I just thought this entire episode, like, I didn't feel like a ton of action happened, but it was just a really well-written episode, and I feel like a lot of stories that have kind of been up in the air and like plot points have kind of found their end in this episode. So I'm excited to see now what's going to launch from like all these bows that got tied up.
Yeah, and, you know, what I'm sort of most interested in terms of that is where was I going with this? I don't know. I lost my train of thought, but.
That's fine.
Well, you know, I'm interested to kind of see what happens, you know, because what's at stake is obviously the civil war between Protestants and Catholics. And at the end of the day, even though Charles is now quote unquote Protestant, I doubt he wants that very much.
Oh, goodness, no.
So,
like, nobody wants your country at war. And I think the way that Catherine will end up playing, like, on her own to his kind of wishes is she's going to be like, hey, if there's a war, the people, like the commoners that you lived with, that you loved so much, and that livelihood you loved is going to be destroyed, because a civil war is fought on our soil in our backyards, and they're the ones that suffer, the civilians. So I hope that we see a little maturity in Charles, and I feel like if Catherine doesn't feel like she can get what she wants, I think she might do like I mean, and I know family comes first with Catherine all the time, but if she has her back against the wall, like, she's going to look at the bigger picture. And if, like, keeping Charles on the throne and keeping Charles alive is going to destroy the family name and, like, the family's kind of position of power at this point, she's going to get behind Henry.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I mean, in essence, they always find a third option that none of us are knowing, but, I mean, just let him go back to the countryside and Henry rules.
Yeah.
Like, that's, you know, I don't think Charles would necessarily be opposed to that much.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
We will see. I'm going to do some super research before next week's episode.
And you do some super research.
I'll let you guys know what really happened with Charles. And Carrie Godding is in the chat right now, and she said, in history, didn't Charles kill thousands? So I'll fact check.
Yeah, we don't know how many he's already killed right now.
We don't know.
You know, how many night outings he's had.
Oh, gosh. I'm just glad he's not like this little vampire anymore.
Yeah.
He was freaking me out. He's a cute kid.
All right. So, and I think also just to wrap that up, I think that's what made Catherine quite happy was, I mean, the last time she did see him, it was in that complete vampire state. I mean, she was basically looking at Dracula, and now here he is just eating pigeon soup.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That was a fun
I
scene.
love Narcisse. It's good pigeon soup. All right, let's go over to England. Quite an interesting story, because there's that dichotomy between Mary and Elizabeth in terms of what's going on. Elizabeth wants to advance, and then leave it to poor little Agatha, Gideon's daughter, to change her heart.
You guys, this storyline warmed my heart and then crushed my heart. We all knew little Agatha was most likely not going to be saved, but
Did it have to be so quick?
You know, I don't think they needed to draw it out anymore. It's been about 3 episodes now, and I think, obviously, the character of Agatha was used to kind of eventually show us Elizabeth, like, have Elizabeth see her, like, what she was as a child and where she came from to get her where she was, and kind of wake her up a little bit in, like, her softer side of, hey, like, let's not, you know, like, let's not be the people that cause violence. Let's be the people that try to prevent it. So she, you know, then decides not to attack Scotland. But it was so nice seeing her, this side of Elizabeth. And I feel like Elizabeth is always talking very, like, intensely and, like, very, like always on edge. Like, she always feels on edge. So to see this, this character calm, having fun, it was so great. And it was so nice to see Gideon, like, happy. And it was just, and we don't see kids often in the show. So it was just really, it was like, what little girl doesn't dream about being able to follow, you know, a queen around for the day and be that? And then the whole speech about heaven, like, it really made me, like, that made me cry. And then immediately afterwards, like, when seeing Gideon cry, I lost it. I'm, like, sitting in bed by myself and just like,
well, here's the takeaways from me, and these are kind of bullet point. Obviously, the friendship between Gideon and Elizabeth is nice to see, because, you know, she's never really had that, and, you know, as you said, she sees herself. At the same time, what was, to me, one of the more interesting parts was the fact that, in a way, we wanted Elizabeth and Mary to meet for the longest of times, and in this sense, she got to meet Mary, because, you know,
That's
through
a good point.
Agatha's met both, and while Gideon's met both, and many people have met both, this was the first time of, like, seeing an actual perspective on Mary that wasn't tainted.
Yeah, and an innocent perspective, one that, like, doesn't have to play a role. She's a child. She can be whoever who is dying. They're gonna let her be whoever she wants, and so it's a very honest perspective. And I think Elizabeth felt that, even though Elizabeth knows, like, because it also awoke all these kind of feelings in Elizabeth that, like, she is a survivor. She had to survive. She did not get this throne, like, easily. And so she doesn't want to give it up easily. But I think it changed her tactics on how to keep the throne and to not be painted as the villain anymore, rather than to be painted as the hero in history, which she eventually was painted as the hero in history. So it's kind of interesting to see.
Are we having a Breaking Bad turn? Or in wrestling, we call that a heel turn? Mary goes heel?
I don't know. I feel like Mary's out for blood. So, and especially after what happened to her this episode, she's decided she's not going to have happiness, and she's not going to have forgiveness. And so, yeah,
Well, fine.
swap.
Well, the last part I want to touch upon was, you know, before we see Gideon and Elizabeth sort of crying, there's that one line, and I want to get your perspective on it, because she says, turns out queens can have anything they want, because she gets the blueberries to make the blueberry pie. And she's all happy, and then she goes to see Agatha, and basically, to me, it was like, you can't have everything you want.
Oh, I think you're right on the nose there. It was a reality check for her.
Yeah.
Like, you know, she was playing in this fairyland world with Agatha, which I think she needed to kind of awaken a lot of things in her. But yeah, it was a snap back to reality. Up there goes gravity.
But is it a good shock or a bad shock? Like, where does she go from here? Does she keep her sense of joy, or does she turn mean again?
I think it's a good shock, because it's again transitioned her kind of what is the word I'm looking for? Kind of the way she's moving forward with her battle with Mary, but her tactics. That's the word. But I think it's for her to hug like Gideon. Have you ever seen her hug anybody in this show?
No.
No. Like, I think she has been changed for good. I'm bringing all these, like, references. Wicked, Eminem. But I think she's been changed for good by this experience with Agatha. And I think also this kind of really seals and cements the bond between her and Gideon. Because she was there when he was going through this. And she's going to be there as he's dealing with the sadness of, after she's... Agatha has passed. And so I think now if it ever comes to a Mary versus Elizabeth scenario, I think Gideon's going to choose sides quickly, and I think it will be quickly Elizabeth. So where I think it would have been up in the air for a while. I don't know, because he loved Mary. So
He did.
Oh man, I love Gideon. I hope Gideon can come in to the studios. I would love to have him.
He's just so soft-spoken. I don't know what he is like in real life, but definitely on the show. All right, speaking of Mary, let's go across the border over to Scotland, and we've got a lot going on. Kira is back in full force. Quite the shot when James walks in.
Oh my gosh.
That's not them cuddling. That's like when Luke came in, Leif and Claude were cuddling. This was
full on. Darnley, what are you doing?
Don't we have locks?
I mean, James.
What year do we invade locks?
James would just kick down the door, bye. But what are you doing, Darnley? I completely agree with his mother. I do not condone what his mother did, by forging his hand and sending, what is her name again? Kira, this letter and changing Darnley's path. But at this point, it is too far gone, buddy. Now you're gonna screw everything up if you act on this. But Kira, she's a little minx as well. We got 2 little minxes in this episode, and she was able to manipulate Darnley to just kiss her, and of course she knew. They were in love. They were in deep, deep love, and the moment you have that chance, he is not a very strong-willed individual. So she got him, and then he's like, okay, this can never happen again. And then 10 minutes later, he's in bed at the inn with her, and so he screwed it up, and I'm mad at him. I'm very mad.
Isn't that this similar to James though, with John Knox's wife? Because he's sort of going through that affair, and he's keeping it hidden, and he's got emotions for, you know what I mean? So
James is not married or sleep. James is not betrothed to the queen of anything. Poor James is literally getting the shaft. His horse is getting taken, his lands are getting taken. Poor guy. And then that scene of Mary walking into the poker game was so great. And Lord
Bothwell.
Lord Bothwell, damn, that guy is hot. And I felt the tension as soon as she walked in the room, and I'm like, if they do not take advantage of this sexual tension that we have and write a great kind of love triangle, and then when we saw the previews for the next week's episode, I was like, thank you, CW. Thank you, Reign writers. Thank you, Reign casting department, for giving us this sexy, sexy man who is just, gosh, he's oh.
That's why I watched the show.
I've not been affected like this by one of the cast members of Reign in a couple episodes. So
let's get him in. His real name Adam Crosdell.
Well, Adam, hi. He kind of reminds me of a Khal Drogo, but kind of fixed up and fancied up. But he's just got this
You want to do a special segment where you read your love poem to Lord Bothwell?
Oh my gosh. No, Lord Bothwell is an asshole, but the actor is great. And I just really love how this character is written, because he does not care what Mary wants. And he is a businessman, which was kind of fun to see. Okay. Kind of Mary kind of just get this slap in the face from this guy basically as soon as she walked in. She was so confident too. She was like, I'm gonna catch this guy in a lie against me, and he just was like, sit down. But sorry, what? I was
No, it's fine. Okay, we'll definitely talk about him a little bit more, definitely in predictions, because there's going to be a lot there with that. But sort of the catalyst for all of it, let's talk about Mary's decision when she's talking with Darnley. First off, do you think he's genuine?
Darnley?
Yeah, because he says to her, like, it was a mistake, it happened once. I mean, good for her for saying, like, as if that matters.
Yeah, no.
It happened, it happened.
I'm sorry, guys.
But do you think he, whether it's right or wrong, do you think he actually meant it, that he was sorry and that it would not happen?
God, no. I'm sorry. Once a cheater, always a cheater, ladies. So always be careful with who you are getting in relationships with. But I do not trust him one bit anymore, unfortunately. I think he's made his bed. And I'm just sad for Mary because she's so blinded by her kind of lust for the English, like the English throne, that I think she's willing to kind of ruin her life. And I think this partnership is going to lead to kind of her demise eventually. So unfortunately, I hate you, Darnley. But I think you've become such an interesting character. I was just telling Phil before we went live, was like, oh, I'm so bummed I missed when Will was here, because I love how interesting this character has become. So I'm excited to see where he goes, but I'm mad at Mary because I think it's a stupid decision at this point to marry him. I'm like so Team James right now. It's not even funny.
Well, but what other option is there for Mary?
Stay queen, stay on your own, and wait. Like, I don't know. I just wish she would say, hey, Elizabeth, you keep England, I'll keep Scotland. Let's just keep everybody alive and keep the peace. I wish, like...
How do we get them to meet?
I don't know. And then I want Queen Catherine there. I want all three queens in the same room in a scene, but I don't know if we'll ever get it. So, yeah, history doesn't end up this way, so, I can wish for peace and Mary to have a change of heart and mind, but I don't think we're going to get it. So, but yes, this lust for England will be Mary's demise.
Well,
We know that.
I think, obviously, I think if nothing else, as I mentioned, the dichotomy there, I think it's something that she doesn't necessarily want. It's just kind of ingrained in her. And it would be interesting to see if she sort of figures out another option as well. One maybe without Darnley, I don't know. Or maybe they work it out.
Well, I don't know if this is... Allison Wilson in the chat says that Lord Brothwell is actually Mary's third husband. So, spoiler alert. But it's history. So maybe we will have a union between Mary and... oh my gosh, Darnley. And then it'll be like, I'm going to have this mistress. What do you call it when it's a gigolo?
Mister.
No, mister.
I don't know.
When it's a man for a woman. This pirate mister for Mary, and maybe then after Darnley either passes away, or I think he passes away. I think that's why I don't think she gets a divorce, because she's Catholic, so that was illegal back then.
Does a letter get written to Catherine being like, what poison do you recommend?
Yeah. Mary's like, I need your help and your expertise. And then she's going to end up marrying her pirate, sexy man mister. So.
Pirate booty.
But then she's already going to have, because I know she has a child with Darnley. So then she solidifies that kind of lineage that she does need to kind of claim the English throne, or have a greater claim to the English throne. So I don't know. We will see.
She's very pragmatic. She's like, okay. This will be interesting how it fully develops. And we thought we were just only going to get Darnley this season. We're getting both. I have nothing else. Everything else is just sort of predictions.
Phil, you're supposed to check your email right now.
I'm supposed to check my email right now?
Check your email right now. You have an email about something for next week. So I don't know if we want to tease it on the show, but Phil doesn't have the chat up right now.
Okay, I can read. If I'm allowed to read the email, I'll read the email. Okay, this is from Drew.
Oh, wait. Okay, it's from Drew? Are we allowed to read it aloud? Let me ask Drew. Are we allowed to read email out loud?
I'll hold it to the end if I am. In the meantime, why don't we head into Castle Corner?
Oh, do I want to read Castle Corner, or are you going to read it?
No, you're gonna read it
Oh, my
as
goodness.
punishment for something that you didn't do.
No, as punishment for like being the worst Reign host consistently ever.
This is Richmond Castle, and I'll let you take it away. It comes from our Castle book that was sent to us.
And I'm so bummed. I wanted to get the Queen Team Catherine shirt signed by Catherine, but I can't.
You can't
Megan.
locate
I
it?
couldn't find it,
You
and I
can't
want to
look.
get the book signed by everybody too. But I'm gonna keep looking for it, and hopefully we have a chance to see her again.
I'm
Anyways,
always wearing my shirt, by the way. Thank you.
Richmond Castle in Richmond, North Yorkshire, England, stands in a commanding position above the River Swale, close to the center of town of Richmond. It was originally called Richmount, the Strong Hill. The castle was constructed from 1071, oh my god, that's old, onwards, following the Norman conquest of England, and the Domesday Book of 1086 refers to a castlery at Richmond. Richmond Castle consists of 4 main parts: a triangle main enclosure, an outer enclosure to the east, a keep at the northern corner of the main enclosure, and a small enclosure around the keep. So this is like old school. I don't know if you guys have ever seen The Hamlet with Mel Gibson. That looks kind of like the castle that they filmed at, but
I mean, it's a very
this
beautiful.
a whole new world playing right now? I'm sorry.
I forget. Maybe it is. It's a very beautiful castle, but it does, what's interesting is that it does, the architecture of it, it's almost 1,000 years old. Literally. A couple more years, but.
You can read the email aloud as long as you don't say his email.
Okay, I will not give away Drew's email.
Or if you want to paraphrase it, you can as
Do
well.
you have any hint of this?
I have no idea. He's just literally was like, Keetin, have Phil read his email. Have Phil read his email. I don't know. So,
Okay. So we have Lord Bothwell
shut up.
coming in for next episode,
Shut up!
along with the writers of Uncharted Waters, which is episode 8.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Oh no.
ask and you shall receive.
Oh my gosh, and he's probably gonna like watch this to see what we're all about, and I'm just like confess my love for him. So
I
Lord
gave
help
you an
me.
opportunity to write an official love poem.
No.
You chose not to.
I will not. I will not. I need to be professional here.
Okay.
I wonder if he's as like sexy in person, or if that's just like his character. I don't know.
I'm sure he is.
Oh my gosh,
sure
I
he is.
can't.
All right, let's get into predictions for next episode. Now that we've predicted that,
Who are the writers for next week? I would love to know now.
let me
so-
double check. Ben, I butcher names. Ben Young Kim and Erica Lippold.
Awesome. LeBolt. So we'll have special guests next week. Tweet out
That's right.
and tweet us your questions for next.
And their Twitter handle is @RainWriters.
Yes.
So very
yes.
simple.
They're great.
Alrighty, without further ado, predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
All right. We pretty much kind of get one storyline next week in terms of the previews, which is Lord Bothwell and Mary. Just basically, it's a.
Down chicka wow wow.
There you go. It's that.
It's Mary falling for the bad boy.
Um,
Remember when she fell for Bash and we said that, and then Bash was like the good guy. We were like, he was like the sweetest guy ever. Oh, we've come so far.
is this gonna be Is this gonna be good for Mary also in the sense that because we've seen his skills of, let's just say, manipulation or negotiation.
Negotiation.
Negotiation,
Yeah.
that he can sort of help her along the way as well.
Yes, I think this is absolutely going to be good for Mary, and I think this is, Darnley better keep his butt in line from now on, because Mary's a queen and he needs to know, and he needs to not mess like with her or her emotions or anything, and he can easily be replaced once there's an heir. So we'll pull a
So get
Catherine.
to it, Mary.
We'll pull a Catherine on your butt.
Get to it, Mary. It'll be good because now I think it brings Mary and James even closer together, and now she's gaining another alliance. So
I'm
that'll be
excited. And a guy who obviously has very awesome trade routes and makes a lot of money. So that's very important if any type of battles are coming up, is to have somebody with a lot of money in your corner, as well as somebody who can affect trade for other countries. And as well for Scotland to bring supplies in and stuff. So this is a smart move for Mary. Lucky her. He's a hot pirate, sexy man. He's not a pirate. He's a lord, but
You like the pirates, huh?
I really do wish he had a Scottish accent, though. Like, I wish, like, he had, like, this, like, sexy, like, pirate Scottish accent. That's me. I just love the Scottish accent. That's wishful thinking for me.
Okay.
So
all the guys out there, if you want Keetin, Scottish accent.
I love Outlander. Like, oh, man. And I love Reign.
Well, that does it for us.
Yeah, that's all for this week. We kind of touched on everything.
I think this was a very reset episode, and we're going to now push onward in a fantastic way, and us here too, so looking forward to that. In the meantime, where can people follow you?
You guys can follow me all over the interwebs at Keetin Marchi.
And follow us here at AFTERBUZZ TV. And we did this last time, so I think it'll work just as fine. Hashtag ABTV Reign for all your questions.
Yeah.
You know, tweet at us, tweet at the Reign Writers, but then also use that hashtag so we can just filter it much easier. You guys tweet a lot, which is fantastic.
I know, and I'm so bummed the hashtag Get Keetin on Reign is like now like void because Reign is done, and it makes me sad.
Well, Reign is coming to you.
Right? I know, it's like I don't
So
even
there
have to
you
go
go.
anywhere. It's wonderful. We're very excited for next week.
So, thank you guys. Always a pleasure. Thanks, Drew, for watching.
Yes,
Thanks,
thank you,
as
Drew.
always, to everybody. And we'll see you guys next time. It may be 4 o'clock, maybe 6 o'clock. We get time switched up sometimes because of the studio here. We'll tweet you the time, I promise. We'll keep you in the loop. Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.